Okay, so we'll go off of my laptop right now. Sorry about that. So we're here for test anxiety, and I know that some of you come because it's required, but maybe some of you came because you wanted to. So does anyone feel like that this is an issue for them ever? Yeah? Okay. So what is the most frustrating about it if it is an issue for you? Do you feel like it always happens? Is it just with one class, or what's the biggest frustration that you have?
Well, I don't think I had it, and then I get my test back, and then I realized I was like, oh, I definitely was freaking out because I understand what's going on, and then I take a test and I don't get it.
So, do you feel like you're going to do bad and then you do well, or is it the opposite?
It's the opposite.
Okay. So,
Well, I'm not currently a student. I'm actually a staff member, but I'm looking at taking GRE to apply to grad school, and just the thought of that.
So Dr. Murphy told me that you had contacted her and that was kind of one of your concerns. So good news is I've already taken the GRE, so I can kind of speak to the GRE as well as final exams, normal clips in life, stuff like that. But just as a disclaimer, it's not as bad as you think.
I know it's not. It's been a while since I've taken an exam.
Right, and it's still one of those things that kind of looms over. So, which is the same with any other test that you take. It's just one of those things that it's on your schedule and it's always looming and it's always there. And the closer you get, it seems like your anxiety gets even worse. So we're just going to kind of talk about a couple things that maybe just kind of discuss, what does normal anxiety look like? What does test anxiety look like? So there's a few graphics on here that kind of explains or depicts a stressful day. And then, so let's talk about some of the causes. Do you feel like there's one thing that's a trigger for any of you? Is it, I don't know, students talking about the exam or the professor talking about the exam? What's the trigger for you? The day before, the night before? Kind of give me some feedback.
The night before.
The night before? What do you feel like the night before the exam?
It's just that I feel that I haven't studied enough.
Uh-huh.
I also, if I've studied, I feel that I haven't studied enough, that I should study more.
Right. Okay, so anybody else? What's the night before feel like?
What she said.
Same thing?
Yeah, it's kind of feel like you haven't studied enough.
You haven't felt, yeah. So do you still feel the same way if you have done really well at preparing for the exam? So say one exam you accidentally crammed for it, because it happens, because we're in college. But if, say there's this one exam and you say, okay, I'm going to do really well, I'm going to prepare for this. Do you still feel that anxiety that it's there?
Yeah.
You still feel it? Okay, well, that's normal. So, all right, so this is just saying, hey, school is not the only thing on our plates. And everybody knows that, I don't have to tell you that, but it's normal. It's not that, you're just going to class and you're just taking tests and you're just doing homework. All of us have, I'm sure, bills to pay, you have an apartment to keep clean, you have roommate issues, you have relationship issues. If you have a pet, they can be distracting and irritating sometimes. And then family. I remember one of the biggest stresses for me when I first came to college, raise your hand if you're a freshman. Okay, one of the biggest stresses for me was we're in college, and then the weekend comes, or you decide to go home and then everybody wants a piece of you. But you're still in college. So especially if you go during the semester, you might have some things to get done, but grandma wants to see you and Uncle Dan wants to see you, and it's just kind of one of those things of balancing your time that gets really stressful. Am I right? Okay. All right, so we're going to kind of push through, I've already talked about the relationship issues and different stresses that you can have that's not just test related, but can contribute to your test anxiety. So, there are healthy stresses that we can discuss today. Some of these things are a little worse than others, I guess. But just the fact of maybe thinking about your exam too much can feed this irrational fear. Does that make sense? Okay, and then there's actual healthy stresses that kind of push you through and get your work done. So maybe like a healthy stress would be your deadline. So, but as the deadline gets closer, then it gets more and more stressful. Okay, so there's 2 different types. This is really difficult because I can't really see what I'm trying to say, and I don't have good eyesight either. So, the best way to combat test anxiety, it also helps with regular anxiety, but personally, and I know for other students, is physical activity. And if you, Darius, we know that you like to work out. You're so big. But no, really. But if you're not a gym rat or whatever you want to call it, just a simple run can really, 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 really help. Or something that you can do in your apartment, like a quick yoga session or something like that. And the best part about that is it calms down your body. If you can get your body to a point of, gosh, I'm tired now, then it'll calm down your body, and so you can just use your mind and maybe calm down some other things that are stressing you out. Because there's still those physiological issues that come around with stress, sweaty or, just fatigue and stuff like that. Okay, so these are some random body responses that I was just talking about that are completely normal. And we have a little hamster on the wheel, and do any of you ever feel like that? Taking classes like the hamster on the wheel, I know. Okay. So what can we do about it? What are some ways that you've tried so far? Even if they didn't work, I'd like to hear about them to kind of deal with pressure in general. What'd you say?
Come on me.
So teas and things like that. What else?
I usually tell myself it's just a test, it won't kill me.
Okay. Does it work?
No.
It does not work. That's good though. I want to hear them all. Okay, what else do you have? Come on that end of the table.
Maybe just deep breathing before.
Have you tried it?
Not for tests, but just life in general.
Right.
It works.
Has anybody else tried that?
I tried that, but it's not really working.
I agree.
I
agree.
do a lot of race. I'm trying when I have too much adrenaline to calm down and breathe, but like it doesn't work. And then I'm going hyperventilation, so it's better for me not to.
I agree. But the best part about the physical activity thing is it takes you away from your stressor. And you have to literally get up out of your chair and walk away from whatever is stressing you out. Also, my cell phone is a really big stressor for me. And it's not because it's really related to school all the time. It's just that, so-and-so's texting you about Friday night, or so-and-so's asking you if they can borrow this notes from you, or there's always some type of communication. I feel like that thing is constantly vibrating. Not that I'm so popular, but just because there's just always some type of notification, right? Okay, so first strategy, I'm going to walk closer to my prompt. I'm going to scoot in right here. Okay, so this is where we kind of bring in the deep breathing exercises and just kind of like make yourself relax. But we've already talked about that we don't really care for those. So, but for the ones that would like to try it, if you don't want to do your deep breathing, what would be really nice is just to, like I said, literally walk away. So if you're in the library, get up from your things, maybe have somebody say, hey, can you watch this, and go outside and then come back. And that would be like a good 10-minute walk. And right now I love when it's cold outside because it's just that breath of cold, fresh air. And it all sounds really silly and really crazy, but I promise you it'll help to just get up and walk away, recollect your thoughts, and like you were saying, it's just a test. Like things like that you said that doesn't work, if you keep telling yourself that stuff, maybe it'll calm down the negative ones. So, all right. So our second strategy, pay attention. What are you eating? Are you doing mindless eating? Are you going through a whole bag of chips or a whole box, right now, a whole box of Girl Scout cookies? And what is going through your mind? So this is coming up. Your third strategy is actually paying attention to what's going through your mind, and that involves your negative thoughts. So when we have test anxiety, it's all negativity, right? I'm going to fail. I've got some little examples on there. I'm going to fail, or, I didn't do as well, things like that. And so an example I came up with to kind of demonstrate what this whole stress ball is think of stress like a fire. And then all these negative thoughts that are running through your mind about the test is just fueling your stress fire. So like you were saying, if you stop those, it's something that we can actually stop. You can make a decision, I'm not going to think like that anymore. I'm not going to let myself get consumed by this one test. It's something that you have to consciously change, but if you have to do it 50 times in one day, so be it. But once you can train yourself to mentally get over your hump, or mentally just say, you know what, even if you don't feel like you've prepared enough, you've got to get to a mental state to where you are calm when you walk in the exam. You're still going to have some natural, anxieties when you go in your exam. That's okay, but you've got to get to a mental state to where you feel at peace when you go in there. Either you know it or you don't, and that's the simple truth, is what you know, and what you don't, you don't. And being a senior, I'm graduating in May, thank God, but being a senior in 5 years, that test that you're worried about is not going to make that big of a deal, I promise. Even if it's a final exam, I promise there's not going to be that much pressure in 5 years from how you performed on that exam. We've got to put things in perspective, and that's what being a college student is. That's really difficult for being a college student, because right now college is your life, right? We're all here full time, so it's like, well, if you don't perform well, you're basically not doing well at what you're supposed to be doing full time, right? So it makes you feel horrible. And I work with students on academic probation because I was on academic probation, and I know how it feels to fail time after time after time. And what was the most frustrating for me on probation was I would try. I would actually put effort into it, and then I would fail. And that's the biggest smack in the face to, I felt like my friends who would go downtown every night should fail. Oh, they should, that should happen to them. That's the decisions they're making, and I'm making these lofty decisions to go to the library and study, but I wasn't doing it effectively. And so I just kept getting discouraged, and like this slide's talking about, it just built on all these thoughts. Oh my gosh, well, if I did bad on exams 1, 2, 3, then I'll probably fail the final. So, speaking from experience, make it stop. Just stop it in its tracks and say, you know what, who cares? If I do fail my final, then you've got a whole other semester that you can pick it back up. And I'm sure that that's not something I should be advocating to a whole group of students, but truly, how is it going to impact the course of your life, even if you do fail 1 exam, 2 exams? It doesn't define you as a person, because I'm here today because of the decisions I made after I failed. You can turn anything around. Nothing's for certain. Okay, so talking about studying, can I get a time check, please? Because it's not on my laptop.
11:39.
Okay, so we're good. We're great. All right, so raise your hand if you feel like that your study skills could use some improvement. What is your weakest area?
The actual studying part.
Okay, so all right, so thinking back to when I was on probation, is it something like, I remember my question was, I don't really know what to physically do when I sit down to study. Is that
Yeah,
it?
it's like I sit down and well, I don't know what to do. So then I'm like, well, what if I just do something else? And then I'll think about it later.
Yeah, so you have good intentions and you're there and you want to do it. Okay, so did I miss anybody else other than what did I actually do when I sit down?
just have a hard time, like, paying attention.
Focusing?
For a long time, yeah.
So what gets you off track?
Just not wanting to pay attention, I guess.
Right, so how long do you try to study at one time? Hours?
Like an hour, so I lose attention after like half an hour.
Well, guess what? So does everybody else. So, here's the big, like, the ASC's big secret. And I say it's a big secret because not a lot of students know about it, which is sad, but there is a trick to studying and studying effectively. And I learned this 3 years ago, and I'm like, why doesn't every college require this as a course? Why doesn't every college student know this? There is a trick to studying. You shouldn't have to sit down and just read something for hours and hours and hours and think your brain's going, yep, I got it, okay, go on to the next subject. We can't do that. Our brains don't work that way. So the way it works is, in a brief overview, is you set a goal. So where would be somewhere that you could find a good goal to set for yourself? How do you know where to start? Like, what would be square one for what do I study?
Set an outline for what the test is going to cover.
Okay, and how do you know what that information is?
Normally, like, the professor will tell you what chapters or something that it's covering.
And do you have some kind of...
Syllabus?
Yes. He knows all the answers. He knows all the answers. The syllabus. Raise your hand if you look at the syllabus on your first day and you never look at it again. Yep.
What's
Okay. So the syllabus has this schedule of what you're supposed to cover, and that is great because the professor has literally given you the topics that you're supposed to know. So this is what he's saying, I want you to know this by the time we get out. So you start with your syllabus. If I had to do this step by step, step number 1 is pull out your syllabus. Step number 2 is exactly like what's your name, sorry? Kristen said, is outline your whole class meetings, your topics, whatever's going to be on that particular exam, you should have it bullet pointed. You should have it ABC, 1, 2, 3. There should be some type of assignment to each of those topics so that you can physically check it off. I know this. It has to be something that's measurable. So step 2 is create an outline. Step 3 is actually do your study part. Okay, so in step 3, this is where everybody's like, oh, what do I do, right? All right, so we're at step 3. Step 3 is you set your goal. You take one of your objectives. Let's say biology, and let's say we're talking about the structure of a cell. You write that at the top of your page, and you write the organelles of the cell. And so that means that at the very end, you should be able to list the organelles of the cell. And so that would be a good goal, but a bad goal would be study chapter 5. Do you understand the difference? Do you see why that would be bad? Okay, study chapter 5 is way too vague. And at the end of your study session, there's no way you can say, did I learn it or did I not? Okay, so step 4 is to actively, this is the big word, actively study your material for about 45 to 50 minutes. That's really short, right? Compared to 2-3 hours at a time. 45 to 50 minutes, because we talked about how short our attention span is. Okay, so that was step 4, right? I don't want to get off track. Okay, now take a break. Walk away, physically get up, walk away. I don't recommend picking up your cell phone because we all know how big of a distraction that is. Even if it's like, okay, I'm just going to take a mental break, I'm going to go on Facebook and look at all that trash. And, you know, it's like mind-numbing, Facebook. And you say, I'm just going to check it out, see what's going on, you know, see what the gender is of so-and-so's baby, you know, the big gender reveal. But then it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Don't do things that'll take forever. A really good thing to do is go to the bathroom, walk outside, physically get away from whatever you're doing, and then come back in about 10 minutes. And so that should be, we should be at step 6, right? Step 5 was take a break. Step 6 is come back and review. How do you think you should review?
Quiz yourself.
Quiz yourself. That's a really good one. Who else? Come on, you have all the answers. Give me one.
I would say like trying to write them down, like what you studied.
Okay. Okay, so that's my favorite. I'm gonna
Yeah, do charts.
do charts, so something visual, something that makes you put it all back together, that's great. This is my favorite thing to do. Okay, a blank sheet of paper, so we're on step 6, right? So this is your review. Take a blank sheet of paper and write your topic at the top of the page again. We were talking about the organelles of the cells, and since I'm really visual, I normally take a black ink, blue ink, and write everything I know about it, everything that I just studied. Anything, everything, they don't have to be simultaneous or anything like that, or chronologically ordered, just get it all down. And then take a red pen and go back, use your notes that you just studied, your textbook, your PowerPoints, whatever that you just studied, and fill in your gaps. And you'll be surprised at the gaps that you still have. And so now, if you can just imagine, okay, I've wrote all this in black ink, and then I've got this red ink here. This is a great visual representation of, did you learn it? You know, like, did I get it? And then the amount of red ink on your paper is going to tell you, okay, this is how much you missed, this is how much you need to go back through. And so it's going to take you like maybe 3 minutes to read this whole paper and go back over. And so this whole paper represents a whole hour worth of study time. And this, if you're studying, if it's in chapter 5, this is what you study from now on instead of going back to chapter 5, because chapter 5 is going to be like 30 pages and you've condensed it into 1. So we're trying to study smarter and not harder. The reason I want to spend so much time on the study cycle, even though that you're in a test anxiety workshop, is because the biggest strain on being anxious before a test is not being prepared. The more prepared you are, the less anxious you will be. So here are some suggestions. Darius, would you please read these all for us?
I can't read.
Shut up. Yes, you can.
Keep your space and consequently your mind organized. Go to class, keep up with coursework, get involved with campus activities, maintain communication with your family, take advantage of campus resources, talk to someone about your problems or concerns, get to know your professors, set reasonable goals, break jobs into smaller pieces, avoid procrastination, set boundaries, or learn to say no.
Thank you. Everybody give Darius a hand. That was good. Okay, so the secret is it's all up here. And it's just a mind game. So like we've been saying over and over and over, tell yourself to stop the negativity and be positive. All right. We're almost to the end here. Okay. So practice, practice, practice. This is another slide that reiterates the study cycle and being prepared. Okay, so here's the gold standard. I just said it. The more you practice, the less surprises you will have on the test. During the exam, during the test, you can raise your stress levels when you hit those questions. It's like, I've never even seen this. But the more you're prepared, the less that will occur. Okay. Sorry, my eyesight is kind of embarrassingly bad. Okay, so when we're in the test, when we're trying to get rid of this anxiety, it's all about focus, practice, forgiveness, and persistence. The forgiveness is saying, okay, it's not going to be that big of a deal. The practice is your study cycle. And the persistence is don't give up. All right, and then there's some breathing techniques that we've collectively decided that we probably don't want to try. But then this one is a really cool one. This is a relaxation technique, and this is something you can do at your desk or during the exam. And it's where you contract as many muscles as you can, and then slowly, one by one, actually let them go, but consciously let them go. So, you know, like my biceps would be a great example. If you mentally contract them and then let them go, I mean, truly, try it right now. Like, your core, do your core. Really, is anybody doing it?
Yeah.
No? Everybody do it with me. And then let it go. Do you feel your belly go? Anyways. All right, anyways, it's an actual true, this relieves stress technique. Okay. difficulties. I'm really, really sorry. But I hope that I've helped in some way. I hope that I've helped for regular exams, for the GRE. It's all about just be calm. With standardized tests, they create a stressful environment when you walk in the door. There's no watches, there's no jewelry. I got in trouble because I sat on my feet. I put my feet in my seat all the time because I'm so short up here, and I got in trouble 5 times for putting my feet in my seat. It's just involuntary. I just can't help it. So it's a middle game for sure. Does anyone have anything that I need to sign for you today? Yes. Okay. And then you can just turn in your little half sheet. We'll put it on top of the attendance. Thank you. Where am I? Okay. You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome. I didn't like throw that at you. That's okay.
I hope it helps.
I think it's meant to.
Oh, no, I was like.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck.